Women's erotic fiction has left me worried about the prospects for humanity. There is Come for Bigfoot, in which a steady procession of voluptuous virgins are deflowered by a furry beast whose primitive, no-nonsense attitude to intercourse, and Pendulous Dong, with its caked texture of Cro-Magnon smegma, or Unhinged, an erotic door romance, which astonishes most for its seemingly limited plot momentum and character development. Stuffed, a living pillow romance, where rather than resting your head, you're given head, and even seduced by the pumpkin spice latte, which seems like a scorching tale, not in the figurative erotic sense, so much as literally scalding of one's sensitive nether regions. There is also Tentacle Entanglement, involving a horny demigod from beneath the waves, whose slippery, slimy, suctioned touch has apparently made thousands of women readers swoon.
I'm disappointed in your species.
The book is full of extraordinary passages.
Screeches.
Now, the bulk of this stuff relies on the tongue-in-cheek defense, the assertion that if you criticize this stuff as ridiculous and bizarrely, even pathetically obscene, you're missing the point. You're taking it too seriously and too literally. You, dear viewer, are lacking in nuance and subtlety, because the content about door screwing and pillow climaxing are composed with a knowing, simmering sense of harmless, goofy kook kink. That there's a prevailing voyeurism, not in a direct, sexual voyeuristic sense, but as a kind of clickbaitish voyeurism, to see what such books might be like. The audacious oddity is supposed to be half the thrill, a jokey little tease of sleaze ratcheted up by surrealism to stoke just enough of an amused, curious flinch to make you pay for a download of the book from Amazon, or skim half a dozen reviews and decide in a quirky impulse to do a naughty little dive into what will likely be a sexy romp of a book. There is an amped up little excitement in buying into something in spite of yourself. No! There is no context, no simpering irony, or any rationale why any human being would write tentacle porn, door-screwing porn, or pumpkin spice latte porn, nor any legitimate reason for any human being to pay any sum of money to download or, God forbid, physically purchase any edition of any of these books, or anything like them. There is nothing wickedly saucy, or daring, or witty, or ironic, or common sense to any of it, and your spirit, soul, and brain would have to be in an abysmal state to think this would serve as a form of legitimate escapism. No one would embark on writing such a work unless in some warpingly bizarre way they were spurred on by some morbidity diagnosable in the psychology manuals. Otherwise, no fully stable individual would persevere with page after page of hard graft, night after night, writing scene after scene, trying to stretch one ridiculous idiosyncratic perversion to the length of a novella of 20,000 words or more, unless they were pathologically drawn to do so because their brain wiring had shorted out. I am a professional writer, and even I would struggle to churn out more than 10,000 words involving door copulation or reverse cowgirl with a pumpkin spice latte. I know that after a chapter or two of door porn, having invoked, ushered in, and comprehensively utilized mesh screens, welcome mats, handles, hinges, air compression dampers, access codes, convex or bullseye glass panes, swipe cards, and slamming, made bisexual plot points about the door swinging both ways, character arcs about the door being too promiscuous and being a revolving door, inspiration would start to run dry. And even if you prompted ChatGPT, its servers would start to overload, short out, with wires bursting free of their fixtures and swirling around, spraying sparks. So if these oddly preoccupied authors are able to persevere with more than a few pages of variations of mounting doorknobs or dunking their vajayjays in pumpkin spice latte and flicking their bean in furious erotic pleasure to the cinnamon-sprinkled froth, then it must be morbidly obsessive.
Oh, I've been internalizing a really complicated situation in my head.
One of two things has to be true. Either, in the tawdrily permissive prevailing climate, such authors are able to express their fetishistic quirks, or they write such stuff as a form of fun expression, which would mean they would count among the most creatively lame, unimaginative, and shallow anti-creatives on planet Earth. Either way, it's not a good look. Now, nothing wrong with a bit of smut, or erotic content in literature. Give me the journals of Aeneas Nin and a glass of ratafia, and I'm simply anybody's. The issues are context and proportionality and irony. This is, of course, a modern cultural environment of sex positivity and tolerance of kink. Nothing wrong with sex positivity, up to a point, and nothing wrong with people having or exploring kinks, up to a point. The issue is, in this dilapidated moral landscape of chick-lit erotic fiction, it's seen as positive to be unabashedly free of restraint, that any kind of modesty or toning down or discretion could be seen as inhibition, and any kink or fantasy can be both blithely literal and legitimate, and at the same time a bit of kooky tongue-in-cheek indulgence. And if you lament any of it, you're being a bit uptight, behind the times, and a killjoy Puritan who can't appreciate a bit of ribald spicy stuff that is deliberately a bit off the rails. No one would read this tawdry, ridiculous, poorly written smut purely out of removed satirical escapism. Women know it is full of lurid sexual provocations, and once you acknowledge that conscious or half-conscious motivation, then the reader is engaging with the pathetic, morally degraded scenarios and ridiculous, even disturbing conceits. So rather than being liberating, it's all really low-grade in quality, low-grade in class, and low-grade in spirit. Possibly the worst example of this is Misfit. A major side plot of Misfit involves Lawson. Lawson, having just turned 18, is bisexual and extremely promiscuous.
I think this isn't going to be a good idea.
Okay.
Thoughts?
Well, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to second that motion.
Okay, let's see. Let's see if we're both right.
He flirts with one of his male teachers, who, without much encouragement, enters into a sexual relationship with him. Shortly after, Lawson then flirts with the teacher's wife, who also promptly enters into a sexual relationship with him. With Lawson now having sexual relations regularly with two of his teachers, he listens consolingly as one opens up frankly about her marital sexual relations to him as a student, saying she suspects something is off with her spouse. The same dynamic occurs with the male teacher. Eventually, when Lawson is having sexual intercourse on the school campus with one of his teachers, the other intrudes on them, and Lawson cavalierly shrugs his shoulders. That's it. That's an actual major plot thread in a novel by a New York Times best-selling author. Who the is reading this and finding it shrewd, sharp, witty, or pleasingly salacious? Why the would anyone compose such a thing? If a man wrote this novel, in its super low-grade prose style, it would be considered so atrociously off and such poor taste, it would probably invite accusations of impermissibly morbid issues. Here, it can be framed as cheekily titillating fun. It benefits from an inbuilt gender irony. A woman is spared any presumption and is given dispensation because it is assumed of her gender that nothing morbid could actually be reflected in the work. Because women's behavior is intrinsically not susceptible to moral failure in such constructs. I'm sure there are a couple dozen teen boys in Florida propositioned and seduced by their female teachers who might take a different view. The character of Lawson, in particular, is a major concern. His storyline involves disturbing behavior. If a younger teen picked this up expecting a standard, rebellious, rich kid boarding school romance, they might be unprepared for the darker elements. It's one of those books where marketing and presentation don't align with the actual content, which can lead to accidental miscategorization by bookstores or school libraries or unsuspecting readers. Now, this last aspect is why I have a bit of a bee in my bonnet, and you ought to as well. Here's the thing. When you wander into a chain bookstore, the main plinths of books on the tables these days tend to look a lot like this. Very softly contoured imagery, very warm pastel tones of blue, red, purple, and grey, faces muted of features, and an overall vibe of benign, light romance. But it isn't. A lot of it is full of labored, extended graphic content. One reason is fairly obvious. 20 years ago, erotic, smutty fiction looked like this. What used to be known as the clinch cover, the oiled-up Lothario holding the limp woman right at the moment of erotic surrender. Naturally, typical women found it a bit of a strain taking such books up to the counter to purchase, as it implied a series of things that made them self-conscious. This new trend means women can bring this stuff to the counter, and it gives the impression of light-hearted, cozy, harmless fun. Maybe with slight book club or contemporary fiction touches. The love hypothesis, you would hardly guess, was based off a work of Kylo Ren and Rey fanfic, known as Reylo, and that it's full of staggering sexual content. The wholesome-looking Icebreaker involves sexual content so off the charts it would make your eyebrows rise to the back of your head, including a sketchy new subcategory of female harem, which you can envisage for yourself. It Happened One Summer, The Love Quotient, The Roommate, and on and on. The issue, dear viewer, that you might have sussed out for yourself is how weirdly these covers resemble YA fiction. The design choice aims to make such content more approachable and less conspicuous for readers. However, it raises concerns about the potential blurring of lines between adult erotica and YA fiction, possibly leading younger audiences to inadvertently engage with mature content. The marketing strategy of using benign aesthetics to promote mature content in literature parallels the approach seen with alcopops. Remember them? Sweet, flavored alcoholic beverages designed to resemble soda or soft drinks. These beverages often appeal to underage drinkers due to their sugary taste and playful packaging, masking the presence of alcohol. Studies have shown that such products can entice younger consumers, leading to early alcohol experimentation. Similarly, book covers with soft pastel designs might attract younger readers to adult-themed content, potentially exposing them to material they're not emotionally or developmentally prepared for. There has been a demographic shift in erotica readership toward younger adult readers, 18 to 29, particularly with the popularity of book talk and other social media driving book discovery among younger audiences. Many of these newer erotic fiction titles contain explicit content that's significantly more graphic than traditional romance novels. Online retailers' algorithms sometimes recommend books with similar visual styles together, potentially suggesting adult content to YA readers. Some of it is inadvertently ending up in school libraries. I was talking with the 12-year-old daughter of some friends, and she showed me the book she was reading, which looked to unaware adults like harmless, light content. When I flipped through, I found myself shocked to see passages about a woman performing fellatio and other scenes of sexual provocation. It is a serious matter that people haven't cottoned onto properly. Now, this may surprise you, viewer, but I can produce witnesses to corroborate this. I am not, nor have I ever been, a tween girl. I don't know what contemporary tweens discuss at their sleepovers or whatnot, and I don't want to know. The point is, naive, precocious curiosity aside, these books and their YA similar aesthetics have the potential to surreptitiously and cynically legitimize and normalize such content for tweens. After a decade or so of that, they might become so jaded, so desensitized, so needing their brains to go out there to some weird place, they might have to indulge in door or tentacle-themed erotica in order to get off. Or they could just go on a date.